Hey everyone, my name is Brajendra. I am a principal solution architect with AWS, and I work with FSI customers in the region. And uh, I'm also a specialist in AI ML. And today we are going to talk about how you can use Amazon Bedrock to build generative AI application. Now, it seems like we have not set the right expectation, and that's bad on our side. This is a hands-on lab. That means you're supposed to come and try to use Bedrock to do some small application development. Of course, you can't do so much in an hour time. But in order to help you, what we have done, some of the scans you can see over here, if you have not bring your laptop, you can keep it with you. We are giving you a free AWS account for next 36 hours, so you can do this lab at your home. And it also has instructions for you. And if you still want to enjoy how it will look like, I'm going to do a few exercises myself live, so you can see that as well. The first 10 minutes, what I'm going to do is use a couple of slides to give you introduction to Bedrock, so you're not completely lost what exactly I'm going to talk about. And then the remaining 50 minutes or so, you can get into the exercise, and I will do a couple of exercises myself. And I told you that you have access to this account for next 36 hours. And yeah, use it for whatever you want to experiment with. Cool. In order to help you, we have very capable people in the room. We have Esra, Sachin, Samuel, and Cassandra will be joining soon. And they are expert. They are all expert in Bedrock AI ML, and they can help you with any of the problem you see. OK, cool. And please use this session to ask any questions as well. You don't need to just do the exercise. Yeah? We are here to make it more interactive. So let's get into what exactly Bedrock is. First 10 minutes, not more than that, promise me. So what Amazon Bedrock is a foundation model or Gen AI service from AWS, where it provides you a serverless platform to access any of the foundation model, LLM models, and the tools around it in a seamless API way, okay? And so whether you're trying to access a foundation model, or you're trying to access tools like setting up the guardrails, or you want to use some RAG-based tool, or you want to create an agent, or you want to evaluate a model, whatever task you want to do, Bedrock is a single place to come and use those features and services using API. You don't need to manage any infrastructure. You don't need to deploy your solution, your models anywhere. You can access all these models in a simple serverless API way. So how do I do that? Of course, you need to have a business case or something which you want to implement. You can come to Bedrock, choose one of the models, and models which you want to use to build your application. Now, one of the questions might come that, OK, how do I choose a model? Which model is best suited for my use case? And for that, we have a feature called model evaluation, where you can do both automatic as well as human-in-loop-based evaluation of your model for your particular use case to see which model is the best performing model for me. And depending on that, you can choose one of the models to build your application on. Moving on, when you're trying to build a model, you might want to put certain data security, certain guardrails in place. You want your response to come in a controlled manner. It should not cross certain boundaries. And for that, we have a feature called guardrails, which you can use to basically configure how your generative AI application should respond to your internal customer or external customer in terms of whatever text is generating. And once you apply these guardrails, your applications will make sure that you are assured of the response adhering to the guardrail rules you have configured for your application. You can also customize the model, whether Well, you can use out-of-box prompt engineering, or you can also use technology like RAG, and for that you can use a feature called knowledge bases for Amazon Bedrock. I will cover some of this later as well. But if you want, you can also fine-tune the model. You can come with your ground data, and then you can see, you can simply use that data to customize a foundation model for your use. And later on, people say that next year is going to be the year of agents. People are a little bit moving from out-of-box prompt engineering and going more into using agents-based architecture to do complex problem solving. And in order to facilitate that or enable that, we have agents as one of the features in Amazon Bedrock, which can be used to configure agent to build application which can do complex or logical tasks. So what are different models available in Bedrock? Well, the list is very long because it's not from single provider. You can see here we have 7 providers. What is important here to understand, 1.5, 2 years back when we launched this service, the number of providers were only 4. Okay, and the list is increasing. How the list is increasing? Based on our customer feedback. If the customers say they want certain providers model to be available in Bedrock, and if commercially we can set up a partnership with those providers, those models become available to Bedrock. So that's the one thing I want to talk about, that yeah, this list is growing. It's not, it was 4 earlier, 7 now, will be 10, 15, 20, depends on what our customers are demanding. Second thing is, you can see here both open source model as well as proprietary model. Both kind of models are available as a part of. Look at the list of the Mistral models. Some of them are like really proprietary model, and some of them are like open source model. Or even open weights model, like meta models, even they are available as a part of Bedrock. The third thing which I want to talk about, and that's another very important thing, is people ask that, okay, Llama is releasing something new today. When would it be available in Bedrock? In most of the cases, if you've seen the news, same day. Because our partnership with these model providers are so close, so tight, that we align the release of those models in the Bedrock at the same time they release the model in the market. So they announce their release of the model, and the same time we announce those models being available in Bedrock. So these 3 key messages I want to go away with when you see the list of models available in Bedrock. Moving on. So what's the common approach for using the foundation model? Of course, you can start with prompt engineering, basic. Send a question, a query to the foundation model and let it respond back to you. Or if you want, you can go and do a little more sophisticated solution where you can use retrieval augmented generation. That means when you ask a query, you use RAG to fetch some relevant data chunk or context from your knowledge base, from your data source, which might have answer for your query, and then use this information along with the query to get a response back to you, which is more factual, more accurate based on the data of your company, of your industry. Or if you don't want, you can also go and train the model. Keep this in mind. As you move from prompt engineering to train the model, you are increasing the complexity or cost of the solution, as well as time to build the solution, because fine-tuning can take a couple of hours to a couple of days, depending on how much data you want to train on. So of course, you move more into more complex, more time-consuming, or more costly solution, but at the same time, the quality of response can also improve. Okay? Now, there I have a bit of, it's not that binary answer that if I need to get a good quality, do I need to fine-tune only? I will say no, because even in RAG, this area is evolving so fast that there are many advanced RAG technologies which you can use to improve the quality of the response or accuracy of the response. So between fine-tuning and RAG, it's really, or tuning a model is really a very depends kind of answer. Really depend on the use case. You have to see if can you achieve the accuracy or the robustness you want in response through RAG only? And if not, then only you think about going to fine-tuning. Because the moment you go to fine-tuning, keep in mind, it is a loop. You can't fine-tune once and then use it. As your data baseline changes, you have to fine-tune again and again and again. That means pay more and more and more. We'll say thank you very much for that, but you are paying for that. Moving on quickly. As I said, that if you are trying to build a RAG-based solution, you can use something called knowledge bases for Bedrock for that purpose. Few highlights. When you're trying to use RAG, your first major task is that, can I use my data and vectorize it or convert into embedding and vectorize it and then use that as in my vector store to fetch context for my query and generate the response. All these flows are basically automated. So the whole, your data source to vector store pipeline is automatic. You can configure your data source, your embedding model, how do you want to chunk your data, and where do you want to store your data. All those things you can configure as a pipeline, and then the pipeline can keep hydrating, keep updating your vector store with your data source. That part can be automated in knowledge base. What kind of vector store we support? We support Redis, Pinecone, OpenSearch, PG Vector. Yeah, these four, unless I'm missing something. And if I'm, please let me know. You can ask me a question that, hey, do I support this one or not? But we support a number of vector store. Once you have your data in vector store, of course, your job is to go and query data. And how do I do that? Simple API call. You can simply call, hey, retrieve and generate API. You make a query. And this query, this API will make sure that it reaches to your vector store, fetches the contextual information, does the prompt augmentation, generates the response, and gives back to you. All these things will happen behind the scene without you doing anything. For you, you're simply passing your query to the API, and you're getting a response back. Moving on, you can also use agents. And agents are used when you want to build an application which can also take action. So for instance, you are probably doing some online booking. People can ask question about, I want to take a flight from Amsterdam to Paris. What are the flights available? What is the price for that? And end of day, they can say, okay, fine. For the following days, for 2 people, book me a flight. If you want to have this kind of interaction, basically, you're not only accessing your knowledge base, but you're also talking to your APIs to get the job done. Such automation can be done through agents, and for that, we do have Amazon Bedrock agents. So basically what you do, you create an agent, you give that agent a name, and then and what purpose this agent solves. Then you configure the tools behind it. Tool behind it could be search over internet or talk to API or talk to a knowledge base. And then once you have configured this agent, you throw a query to this agent, and then it uses a foundation model to basically create a chain of thought to determine how it can solve your query. And accordingly, it will go and orchestrate all the tools you have configured behind the scene to get the job done. Okay, that's the shortest description I can give for the agent today. Moving on. As I said, you can customize the model in Bedrock. There are 2 types of customization we support. One is fine-tuning, which is customizing for a task. So you come with a particular task. This is my prompt. This is the response I want. You come with that kind of, we call it labeled data. And with that labeled data, you can customize your model for a particular task. You can make your model expert in certain task. But sometimes your purpose is to go beyond it and say, hey, can my model understand my language? Probably you are in a very particular industry where you want model to use the lingo you use, the language your business documents use, the kind of abbreviation you use, the kind of tone you use. If you want your model to learn your language, then you can use your corpus data, your unlabeled data with continuous pre-training, and you can make this model learn your language. So 2 types of training you can do. You can do both as well if you want. Together, I mean. Finally, coming to if you're building a generative AI application, of course you want your model to behave in a certain way. For instance, you want model to avoid certain topic. Don't advise about investment, or don't talk about competition. Or you might want to avoid certain words, or you don't want your GenAI application to accidentally leak any of PII data. Or you want to make sure that when I'm using a RAG-based solution, the response is coming back only if the response is 99% confident that it is based on the fact of the context. If you want to set up those kind of ground rules, you can set up that into Amazon Bedrock guardrails. And then these rule set, we call it a guarded rule set basically, you can apply at prompt level, you can apply at knowledge base level, or even at the agent level, up to you. You can use model elsewhere and you can still apply guardrail. Actually, we provide even that kind of flexibility. And you know what? I can keep talking, but that's not the purpose today. The purpose is to do hands-on lab. So few key highlights, and trust me, I'm itching to talk more because there are many more things I can talk about. So if you have any question, please feel free to ask us. And I said there are 3-4 essays here, very knowledgeable. And Basim is here, so he's another essay. Thanks for joining, Basim. And please do ask your questions. You can start the lab now, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to run this lab myself, so some people who don't have laptop can see at least introduction to how the lab works. And as I said, you have 36 hours, yes.
I have a question. In the first example you had 4 models listing. How do those models interact from different providers in your solution?
First one in the sense, yeah.
Example, you had a list of 4 different models from different providers.
Yes.
Could you develop a little bit how those interact when you build your application?
So basically, when you're trying to build a RAG-based solution, you have to choose 2 types of model. A model which can do embedding, convert text into embedding or image into embedding and those kind of things. And second model which can generate response for you. So for embedding, you have 2 choices. You can use Cohere or our Amazon Titan embedding models. These 4 models you see here are the models which can use to generate the response. And you choose one of the models. All 4 you don't use. You can select, hey, you select, I'm going to use Llama or Anthropic or Titan model. And you can see that, okay, fine. In the beginning, I showed you a long list of models, and now I'm showing 4 only. And why 4 only? Because why 4 only? Because not every model can generate chain of thought. The model should have capability to generate chain of thought. So out of the models which we have, these 4 providers provide us a model which can do COT for us. And that's why you can choose those models in knowledge base. Yeah?
But you choose one.
But you choose one. Not all. Yes. Okay. That's the sort. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions I can answer before I jump to the workshop? Yeah. We can talk about that in private because information under NDA, I can't talk in public about that. But ask one of the essays, they can answer you. Yes. Yes, please.
You spoke about the pricing.
Yes.
So could you give us an idea of how the pricing works?
So there are roughly 2 choices available. One is on demand, and second is called provision throughput. So in on-demand, the pricing is based on number of tokens or number of requests per minute. Say number of tokens per minute. But there you also have a quota. For instance, I can send 400, like Cloud 3 in Frankfurt, if I remember correctly, it is like 400 requests per minute you can send. 400 requests per minute. Yeah, and similarly we have a quota with that. So with on-demand, you are limited by your quota, but you have, you pay by number of tokens you are processing. If you go for provision throughput, another option we have, there you pay by instance hour because we deploy a model just for you, which only you are accessing, no one else, and you can ask a throughput which you want, way beyond what on-demands gave you. But in that case, you're paying per hour for those instances. Yes. Cool? Yes, please. So it's hard to explain without a diagram, but let me tell you. So you keep data in your AWS account. First of all, when you choose Bedrock in a certain region, data does not leave that region, first of all. So if you're in Europe, of course, you don't want data to go out of Europe. Now, coming to the second part where if you're fine-tuning your model, so you keep your data in an S3 bucket in your AWS account, the account which you own. And then Bedrock fine-tuning runs in one of the AWS-owned account. So what happens is that when you create a fine-tuning job, on the fly, ephemeral job is created, this data gets copied to the job, fine-tuning happens, model is created, deployed just for you, and then job kills along with the data. And in this process, nowhere any data is harvested or stored or provided to model providers. Yeah. I can explain it better with a diagram, but I try to picture it for you a bit. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's do the lab. So, in the lab, you will. There are two scans available. So first one, if you scan, you get access to AWS account. Oh yes, sorry. And if you do the second scan, you get instruction, well-defined instruction how to follow it. So please, you can use these two scans. But if I put the access code, I can't share my screen. But I can put it for some time. Okay, let's do that. Can you please copy this access code if you need, because I need to move to the lab. Or take a picture, please. Are we good? Can we start? Yeah, I'm assuming you can take in the picture. If not, yeah, let the team know. Okay, so how do I do that? So, oops, here we go. So you'll get a link like this when you click on the account, and basically your workshop will look something like this, where you have got a number of exercises which you can do. And here I'm going to show you how you can get started, because after that I'm sure you can play the lab the way you want to run the lab. So when you click on the first one, you get a link like this, which if I access, it will ask me to agree to the terms. And then you say, I want to join the event. And it will give you access. So you can see here, it brings you to the workshop directly. It is available for 1 hour and 11 hours, one day 11 hours, that means till tomorrow evening. And this is, if you click over here, you basically use AWS console, and this is using US West 2, I think Oregon region, if I'm not wrong. So if you click on that, basically you get access to the AWS account where you can run the lab. Okay, it's as simple as that. So you can do it at your home as well if you want to run this lab at your home. Now, what I will do, once I have these things, let's keep two things open. One is you want to keep your workshop studio somewhere here, and then you want to have console running over here. And in your workshop studio, if you go on the top, you want to go to this running at an AWS facilitated event. This is the option you have to go, because we are providing you AWS account, okay? And if you click over here, it says how to set up the bedrock. And it will say, hey, in console, go to the bedrock, and then go to the model access in the bottom left-hand side, and then you can enable access. And it asks you to enable access for these 5 different models. In fact, all the Amazon models, and then Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, and Mistral models. So let me do that for you. So if I go to the Amazon Bedrock, if you get stuck somewhere or not clear, please feel free to ask. Huh? We have a lot of capable people here who can answer to you. So get started. And so this is our Bedrock console. You can see all the providers are listed over here, the one I showed you. But before you can access a model, and these are tools like prompt management, knowledge bases, prompt flow, agents, guardrails, model evaluation, accessing provision throughput. You can do batch inference. You don't need to do real-time inference. You can run a batch inference as well. Or you want to do cross-region inference. And this one, if you go, it needs little time to explain. But basically, from one region, you can access model from other regions as well. That helps you build more scalable application without worrying much about the threshold of request or tokens per minute. Anyway, so I go to model access. And then I say I want to modify my model access. Okay. And I need all Titan models, all Amazon models, and then in Anthropic Cloud 3 Sone, which is fine. And then I want to go to Cohere command, which is here. And then I want Meta Llama 370B, Meta Llama 370B, yeah, here we go. And Mistral 8x7B. Oops, sorry. Mistral 8x7B instruct. Here we go. And you can select a model like that. You can try more, but I think we have restricted the account to use these models only, if I'm not wrong. And you submit it. And after that, few models access you'll get right away. Few will come in a couple of seconds time or in a minute time. So you don't need to wait here, but basically you will see some in progress, some access granted. So you don't need to now wait here. I mean, you can always come back and see, but basically the access will be granted slowly to all the models you ask for. So that is how you set up. So you don't need to do Bedrock Playground. This is for no code interface. So I'll say try it, but not now. So now what I want to do that I want to use a dev environment where I can run my labs. And that dev environment is AWS Cloud 9. So I can click on that. And basically it says that go to Cloud 9. And then there open up the environment. It's already configured for you. And then try to run this Bedrock API Python file, because this file will show you whether API is working for you or not, or you have access or not. And if you get a response back, then means your account is good to go. So let me do that. So if I go to, from here, I can say Cloud 9, please. Oops. Okay. Yeah, just to make sure, yes. Okay, so this is the Cloud 9, and in Cloud 9 you can already see that one dev environment is already configured for you. If you open that dev environment, you can already see that we have created all the files you need to do the hands-on. I mean, like empty files and some configurations already there. What I'm going to do is, while it is starting, while it's starting, I need to know which command I run. And that is, so I go to the environment and then, okay. So let's copy this. Oops. Here we go. So you can see here on the left-hand side, you can see there in the workshop, we have got all the sample files. I think resolution is not very good here. Can you see clearly? Yeah, it's not very clear to me. Even for me, it's small. Anyway, so you can see all the sample files are here. All the labs are here, which you'll see for different labs available there. But first, I want to test whether my environment is set up correctly or not. And for that, if I can, okay, let's leave it like that. So if I can go back to my instruction, and then I need to run this Python file. It has a simple code to invoke basically the Python API, the Bedrock API. And I should get a response back. And that response is, let me close this, okay. Here we go. Oops, come on. Here we go. So you can see here that, I'm getting response back because I asked for something about Manchester, and it responded me back through LLM. So I'm getting a response. That means my API is working fine. Okay, I'm good to go. Here onwards, once you have done this, that means your account is good to go. You have all the access. You can then basically skip all those things and come from this lab onwards and run whatever lab you want to run, to be very honest, because it has got very simple ones. In the beginning, you can see here the foundation labs where you can do very fundamental things, like how do I invoke a model? How do I use Converse API, which is API which you can use in a standard way across different types of models. How do I use tools with my models? How do I get a streaming response back from my model? How to use embedding model? You do those kind of things. They are foundational labs just to get you started. But then you can start moving ahead and start doing something more useful, more complex, like can I do a RAG implementation? Can I do a chatbot? Or go further down and can I do a chatbot with a RAG? Can I do document summarization? Or can I do a personalization recommendation? Can I get my data, can I generate text from my JSON document? Those kind of use cases. So as you move forward, the labs will become more complex and complex, or more realistic, in my opinion. So you don't need to do everything unless, you don't want to sleep in the night and you want to do up to you. But do browse across and try to do a lab which is more relevant to you. You find like, okay, this is something which I want to do. I want to experiment with. You can run one of those labs. So just to demonstrate you how it works, I will probably do 1 or 2 labs, and then you can to get an idea how to basically use it. So for instance, if I go to why am I rumbling around? So for instance, if I go to this invoke model API, the most fundamental thing you can do is to invoke the Bedrock model. If I click on this one, it asks me to open a file called, under this API folder, open this particular file. And then it asks me to copy paste certain code. So basically, it's asking me to import Boto, and then create a client for Bedrock. Okay, and then it is creating it's setting up a model ID. That means which model I want to access, and in this case, it's using Titan Text Express model. This is my prompt. This is my input body, and I get a response back, which I'm simply printing over here. So these things you can print, and then you can run, and you get a response back, and you get an idea that what it takes in terms of writing code to use Bedrock models to generate a response. So let me do this copy-paste job for you, but I think you got the idea. So in labs, APIs. So you can see here it is completely empty. So I have to do a lot of, I have to do a lot of copy paste here. It would bring me here. Bigger, yeah. Yeah. Yeah? Better? Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. Thank you. Oops. Okay, it's better. Better. Okay, few things to understand here, just to explain the things. So basically, this part is the most important part because this is the model which you are choosing to generate the response. This is the query or the prompt you are sending it, right? A very simple one. And then here you are configuring your prompt inference parameter in terms of what's the temperature, and what's the top P, how much flexibility you want in terms of your response, in terms of generation. What is your top P or top K? And then what is the maximum number of tokens you want to generate? If you don't want long responses, you can do that. And also you can configure your stop sequence. Then this payload you send to the bedrock. You see the model ID and the body. And what you get is a response. We can simply print the information out of the response. So if I save this, and then I have to go to CD labs. Oops. Yeah, which folder it was? Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so if I have to go to, yeah, and then I can simply say Python, and then my file is bedrock. Oops. Bedrock API dot Python file. Thank you. And I should get a response back, which is simply invoking my foundation model to get a response back. So you can do things like that. I think you got the idea how to get started. I want you to start doing the workshop, or if you have more specific questions about Bedrock which you want us to answer or discuss, I'm open to respond to your question. Yes, open up whatever you want to discuss, or any specific questions you have about Bedrock, or foundation models, we'll answer from Bedrock. Yes, please. So you mean, I'm not sure if I got the question correctly, but I think like, is there something in Bedrock or AWS to have this front end built already for you? Yeah. Yeah. So there are certain lightweight test mechanism available at the tooling side. Okay, so if you use Amazon knowledge bases for Bedrock to configure a RAG, or like agent to configure an agent, there are tools available as a part of, there's a test bed available as a part of the tool itself, where you can do a simple query to test your accuracy of data and so on. That is available. Something you should look out for is something we call it, I forgot the name of that particular one. It looks very bad on me. But prompt flow. So that's a feature under preview. What we are doing is, generally when you're trying to use foundation model, it's not a single step thing that you send a query, you get a response back and don't know. You get a response back, then you want to personalize it, summarize it, so on. If you're creating this kind of multi-step application, then you can use prompt flow to create such application. And then prompt flow also provides a test bed or a simple interface to simply test your applications before you do anything about that. So each of these features you see have their own test mechanisms in place. Something I didn't talk about it today, but especially since you talk about RAG, you should also consider using Q for business. A service which is more on the low-code part, where when you configure a RAG-based application, it also creates a web page for you, which basically can use in production as it is, without making any changes to it, actually. Prompt flow, I'll just come behind. Prompt flow, agents, knowledge bases, each of them have their testing tools available as a part of the Bedrock interface to do that, to test them. Yeah. One by one. Yeah. Who goes first? So when I build this application, is there an end result? Yes, so if you're using Bedrock, the end result is an API. So you still need to build an interface on top of that to consume that API to give something which your user can interact with. Yeah. Yes. Up to you. If you might want to send a text and get an image back, even that is possible. But for each of the capability I showed you is basically exposed to you or given to you as an API, and then you have to build your application on top of that to consume that. Yeah. Amplify. There is something which is right now in preview, actually. Look for something called, we call it, and that's why I'm not hesitant to talk a lot about it because service is still in preview. It's called Amazon App Builder. And Amazon App Builder is a way to build smart applications, mostly using instruction-based. So you provide basically instruction that I want. Basically what you do that you start telling your requirement is ask you more questions, and you basically respond to those questions, and based on that it creates a feature list for your application, and based on that feature list it generates an app for you, which gives you a starting point, and you can further customize it and then use it for building some app on top of that. Yeah. Yeah. So you have some document which going through a pipeline to say populate a vector store, and you want to make sure that your document has been.
So yeah, so and then I can use the bedrock agents and tell it to use the knowledge base to find the images. Okay.
Okay, I'm not sure if I'm getting the question again. A lot of conversation going on. Sorry, go ahead. You have to repeat one more time, please. Sorry.
No, imagine I have two PDF or images, but I want to know which one of them is good to go.
Which one is them good to go?
Indexation pipeline. Because of the version, whatever. How do you manage all the instructional data before going to the application?
Yeah, I mean, there are, there's no mechanism, very honest with you, there's no mechanism to tell you that, okay, you have two files and this is good to go, this is not good to go. What I can tell you is that we do support mixed content. So if you have, because that's the most challenge comes from that, okay, if I have simple text or PDF, it's fine. But what if my PDF has got tables and charts and images? What about that? Bedrock does provide a way to parse that data. So it's called spatial parsing capabilities. You have to enable that. It's not enabled by default. So basically what you do is that you enable that, and it creates, it uses an instruction. So you can say, if you see a diagram, simply explain the diagram in a certain way. If you see a table, convert that table into a CSV format, first line being header and so on, and then, so you can give that kind of instructions, and once you provide that kind of instruction, when the document is vectorized into vector data store in knowledge bases, knowledge base uses that instruction and the foundation model to first convert your non-textual content into that format, and then vectorize that. And that way, you can handle mixed kind of content. But to be honest, we don't have a solution right now, unless someone is thinking otherwise, to say, hey, this document is good and this is not good. Yeah. It's a knowledge basis in Bedrock, and the feature is called, I think, spatial parsing or something. Look for it's called spatial parsing, or what's name is called, exactly name. It's called spatial parsing or something like that. It's one of the features, a tick box. And then you do that, it allows you to give instructions which you want to use to basically parse your non-textual content into the vector store. Yeah. Yeah, yes, sorry.
If you want to generate text and image, does it allow you to combine different foundation models to do that from different providers?
So text to image.
No, text and image to generate two different kinds of.
So yeah, so in terms of model, we have text to text and text to image, and we also have got text to image in a multimodal way. That means you can put a text and image both. Something like give it a picture and say, can you describe the picture? Two input, text and image going together. So yes, so if you look at the Llama models, and if you look at the Anthropic, Haiku, Opus, Sonnet, all these models, they all are multimodal. That means you can give your text and image both and get a response back.
But my question is, does it allow you to, let's say, to combine a stability AI model with the Llama model in the same application?
Yes, so using prompt flow, I told you that it allows you to create a workflow. So you can create a workflow of calling one model with another. You have to make two calls, yes. First call, then second call, yes, yeah. You can't say these two models work together and give me an answer. Good idea, but unfortunately we don't have that from some time.
Show the console to have a little bit of because in the console you can compare with the models and those kind of
Yeah.
not show the knowledge base. I think it would be more.
Okay, so let's walk you through a bit of console. Good idea. So this is the Bedrock out of box, and as you can see, to begin with, you have various providers, and if I click on a particular provider like Amazon, you can see here there are various models which are available. Let me reduce this one a bit here. Yeah. So you can see here that these are the models available under Amazon, and if I go to Anthropic, for instance, these are the models under Anthropic. Where is that? Oops, yeah, the model in Anthropic. Now, you can create custom model, for instance, and you can basically customize the model in two ways. As I told you, you can either fine-tune the model or pre-train the model. And the difference is in data. In case of fine-tuning, you're providing task-based data, label data. And in case of continued pre-training, basically, you are providing an unlabeled data because you want your model to learn about your language. So you can start a job from here, and then you have to select a model. You have to provide your data, input, output, and then it simply tunes a model for you, okay? Moving on, imported model, still under preview. It's a very good one. So sometime you don't have a model you want in Bedrock, but that model is available in Hugging Face. Yeah? And you want to bring that model to Bedrock because Bedrock provides you an API way to call the model rather than you hosting it somewhere kind of thing. And that's what import model does. In import model, you can take, it supports 3 architecture right now. It supports Llama architecture, FLAN-TF, and Mistral architecture. 3 architecture it supports. So if your models are compatible with any of 3 architectures, those models you can bring from elsewhere to Bedrock as your own model and access an API. Yeah? Yes, please. What the pricing with that? To be honest, this service is still under preview. So I'm not sure whether the final configuration will be on demand or provisioned or both. So I don't have a concrete answer for that because service is not yet generally available. So I don't know what they will come up with finally. Yeah. Yeah. So probably in due time I can answer you correctly. Yeah. Yeah. These are the playgrounds available. So of course, like any other model providers, we have playground which you can use to basically access the model, and you can play with. Like if you go for chat, you can select a model, like this, and then you can simply change the configuration. You can play with the model, and you can do prompt engineering over here. You can use prompt management. So sometimes having prompt template and versioning it, using it as a standard prompts across organization is a very common use case. And prompt management can help you do that. You can basically create prompt templates, maintain various versions of it, and you can use it with your applications. Knowledge bases I talked about. You can create knowledge bases, and basically it allows you to configure your data source to which you want to use as a data source for knowledge base. You select your embedding model, you select your vector store, and you simply create a RAG, a knowledge base which can be used to build a RAG-based application. It's as simple as that. Similarly, agents, you can create agents. Okay, it's a little lengthy process, but if I create an agent here, you can see here I can, again, configure my model, my instructions to the agent. I can configure different actions group, but nothing, they are the tools you want to configure with the agent. And you can hook in memory retention period. You can add knowledge bases to the agent. And once you have configured your agent I was talking about, here's the right-hand side. Yeah, you have a test bed available where you can simply, using simple interface, you can test your agents and knowledge bases for that. One thing to keep in mind, and I'm proud of sharing that, agents has a retention period, knowledge, conversation history period, memory period of 30 days. That means if you had a conversation with customer today, and the same customer comes back on 29th day and say, I want to talk again, you can rehydrate his session and start that point onwards. It will keep in memory what you have talked with that customer earlier. Yeah, so it's that powerful. Prompt flow, I talked about. You can use prompt flow to basically, if you want to create a complex workflow where you want to first hit knowledge base to fetch some information, then you want to summarize that information, that summary you want to send to some other foundation model to get some other response, and then do something else. If you have this kind of multi-step configuration, which you want to use in your application, you can simply do that using prompt flow. These are guardrails. So setting up the rules for your applications. And just to give you an idea about it, you can start with configuring the content filter. It's like a checkbox kind of thing where you can say, I don't want toxic content, I don't want sexual content, I don't want abusive content to be part of my request or response. You can put filters on that. You can define certain topics on which you want to deny answer. Like I tell you, don't talk about my competition, don't talk about investment. Those topics I don't want. So you can provide English-based instruction to your application saying that, okay, I don't want the model to respond to this kind of queries, okay? You can do that. You can put filters on certain words which you don't want to use. Just let me this flow and then I'll come to you. You can configure for sensitive information, and which means that if certain you don't want your PI data to be leaked, you can configure it. Like don't give phone number of date of birth or name, those things out of, because that information might be part of your knowledge base, but you don't want your user to know that. I mean, it's information leakage. And if you configure this particular aspect in the guardrails, it will not, when it sees any PI information as a part of the response, it will simply mask that or redact that information. And the last one, sixth one, very important one, contextual grounding check. You are building a RAG application. You want to make sure that your answers are best based on your text only and nothing else. You can come here and say, okay, give me a response only when you are 99%, 95% confident about the response accuracy. And then only give me the response. You can configure that, and when enable you that with the knowledge base will give you response only when the confidence of the knowledge base is 99% about the accuracy based on your query and the context it has retrieved. Okay, so those kind of things. I'll take a question before I go further. Yes, please.
Are these configurations dynamic? Like, for example, in typical scenarios, you may not want to be talking about sexual harassment, but in an HR scenario, you may want to allow that kind of conversation. Is this dynamic enough that you're like, okay, in this type of situation, I want to
So it is, you can configure multiple guardrails with different level of safety mechanisms in place. And dynamically, you can apply a particular guardrail depending on in the context you want to talk about. Yes. What I heard is coming is also, okay, I can't talk about that in public, but there's few more things coming where you can configure this guardrail also at the account level. Yeah, where you don't need to individually for a project, but you say, this is for my organization, huh? And you can do that. But I can't talk much about that in public, it's still not released. Yeah. Yes.
Bedrock provide facilities to check the performance of the models that we choose, X versus Y, in terms of performance cost.
Yeah. Not cost so far, but yeah. You can use model evaluation, jumping a bit here, and you can create an automatic evaluation. Oops. And basically, you can select a model. Here, let's choose one. 2 minutes, okay, sorry. And then you can select a task type. And then you can select, do you want to, suppose I go for Q&A. And in Q&A, it by default checks for accuracy, toxicity, and robustness. And through this, basically, if you have a test data set, you can run it for one model, other model, you get these matrices out, and you can compare to decide which one you want to choose to I'm sorry? It's good feedback, but cost is not part of that. But again, there's something which might come, and I'm not allowed to talk openly about it. Yes. Yeah. But yes, please. How to monitor performance of the API? There is a invocation lock feature, which is by default checked off because we want customers' consent. But if you have enabled that, it basically keeps track of your request and response and provide details in terms of number of tokens and response time and everything about that. Matrices go to CloudWatch. If you want, so it can go to S3, CloudWatch, or both, depending on how do you configure it. Yes. It's called model invocation in Bedrock. Yes. Do we have time? Still time? No. Oh, we can take questions offline as well. Yeah. Yeah. That's all. Okay. They're saying okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. And thanks for staying up, thanks for good questions.